we're going to see the part of the brain that activates the endocrine organs. So we have glands that are activated mainly by the brain, and so the brain produces hormones. Those hormones in their turn activate other organs in our body. Who can give some examples? You can see it behind me in the virtual background.
Reproductive.
Reproductive, what else?
Nervous.
No, nervous not. We're talking about hormones now. Um, so our kidney cortex is producing hormones. We have our thyroid that is producing hormones. We have the pancreas that is producing hormones. So we will see that in this lesson that we have different parts in our body that produce hormones. All those different organs and glands that produce hormones are activated by in fact one big mechanism, which is the hypophysis or pituitary gland. We will see that. But before I want to give a small introduction, we will see in a moment a little video about how the hormones work. But what is interesting about the endocrine system is that usually what is the difference with the nervous system and the endocrine system is that like I said, in the nervous system, that the nervous system is a quite fast effect. You send the signal, you immediately move a finger or arm, whatever. It's very fast and it's not very long-lived. It's a short-term effect. Okay, the endocrine or hormonal system is a little bit the opposite. It's a slow signal, takes time, and the effect is more prolonged. It can be hours, it could be minutes, hours, days, and years. Also, we were all children, we were all small at a certain moment, we were babies. The fact of us growing is controlled by the endocrine system, a hormone called growth hormone. So us growing is controlled by hormones. Us aging is controlled by hormones. Our reproductive system is highly controlled by hormones. Even our sexual drift is controlled by hormones. Menstruational cycle is controlled by hormones. A lot of the digestive system, think about the insulin production, is controlled by hormones. We have other hormones that influence the immune system, metabolism, well-being, the activation of the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system with adrenaline and noradrenaline. All of that is controlled by hormones. So it's very complex. In fact, when we talk about the hormonal system, in fact, it's one of the systems, just like the nervous system, that is in fact still not so well understood, because there's so many chemical messengers that do so many different tasks that it's very difficult to understand what is happening on this microscopic molecular level. And to make it even worse, in our modern society, and that's what I want, what I want you to realize, and that's why this system is in fact very important. There is big problems with the hormonal system. How many of you don't know grandmother that have problems with thyroid? You hear that all the time. No, es la tiroide, no, la tiroide. I'm big because the tiroide, my bones hurt because my tiroide. So I think, who has heard of that?
Me.
What other hormonal problems are you aware of nowadays?
There's a lot of menstruation issues.
Yes, menstruation issues in girls. Very good, Anna Sophia. It's true. Not only menstruation issues, it's not so much in the media, but us boys.
I saw the average testosterone production has lowered, like in the past decades.
Indeed, we have big problems with this. What is happening? If you take the men are becoming more and more female. In fact, to say it indirectly like this, sperm count, so the amount of sperm cells in 1 milliliter or 1 milliliter of sperm has been dramatically dropping for the last decennia. I mean, my grandfather, or our grandfathers, they would have way more healthy sperm than we have. Men are having more and more infertility. They have more erectile problems. They have more. They have smaller penises. They have less sperm production. Like Anna Sophia says, in girls as well, there's menstruation problems in girls. And there is in fact a whole lot of problems. But where does this all come from? Why do we have so many hormonal problems that we don't even know how to fix?
Well, I saw a report that said we wouldn't produce sperm, but like the new generations by 2040 wouldn't be able to produce sperm,
Yeah.
and it's because of plastic. They said plastic had something to do with it, like it got in the way or affected
Mhm.
in some way. I don't really remember.
Okay, Emilio, very good. It's not only plastic, Emilio, it's also other things. If we talk about that specific problem, the thing is that there is a lot of research going on and they don't really know where they have to start looking. You're absolutely right. It's microplastics, is the amount of plastic we produce that is affecting production of testosterone. It seems to interact with our hormones because many plastics they seem on a molecular, I mean, our body confuses between molecular plastic and certain hormones, but it's not only that. Another problem is, for instance, and we know that because we have seen sex changes in fishes. Another part of the problem is that is our anti-conception. So there is, since the last 30 years, maybe even 40 years, I don't know the exact number, but many decades already, the girls, they become, I mean, it's okay to have sexual interaction with a man, and it has to be pleasurable, and it's more and more socially accepted that it's not only to make babies, it's also to have fun. Okay, so more and more women, they before, I want to say, it was a little bit more controlled by religion. You know, it's not supposed to be like that, but anyway, now anti-conception is a good thing and it's okay. So more than ever, girls are taking the anti-conceptive pill, and this is a big problem as well, because you take in fact hormones, and those hormones, they are not destroyed when a girl takes the pill and they urinate. We have tests, we have evidence in Europe that this urine, this goes in the waste water. The wastewater is treated, so it's all everything is taken out, so it's more or less clean. But what is still in there, what they cannot take out, because we don't have the techniques, or we have the techniques but it's too expensive to do it, it's the hormones stay in it. And the hormones, they go to the rivers, they go to the sea, they go to the fish, and then in fact the cycle goes around, because we purify from the river the drinking water, and basically everybody is ingesting those hormones again, which causes men to become less and less infertile. So this is also another thing. Another problem is not is we're not going to blame it all on the girls. That would not be fair. It's the plastics, like Emilio said, and it's also a lot has to do as well with how we produce meat, boys and girls. So we want big chicken, we want big cows, and we want them fast. And if you want them big and fast, so what you best do so that they grow quickly and that they produce the most meat, well, you inject them with hormones. And this is all supposedly regulated, how much hormones you can use. But it's one of the reasons why I really try to limit my meat consumption as well, because our meat is not healthy meat. In fact, it's factory meat produced by farms that give genetic manipulated food to those animals, and they inject those animals with as many hormones as they can, to have as fast as possible a big animal, big chicken, a big whatever. Okay, did you know that if you would buy a chicken in the 50s, it would weigh maybe 700 grams? Okay, if you buy a chicken now, it would weigh maybe 2 kilos. We were able to more than double the size of our chicken, and it's not because the chicken changed, it's because of the food and the hormones we give to those animals. So that has consequences, of course. um, I also wanted to say something else about those chicken, because I saw something about it that, yeah, that we in such a short period of time we were able to do that. For one part, it's a good thing. The other part is, of course, it's going to mess up with our natural processes. Okay. Anybody else knows about hormonal problems we have?
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. What else? Is there something else you know about this problem?
I don't
There's
know.
ovary issues, so you don't ovulate and stuff.
Very good, Daniela. Uh, Indeed. There is hormonal treatment especially in Mexico. I see it a lot. In fact, even in Tec de Monterrey, I remember when I was in prepa or in secondary school, I have known. I'm really honest. I have known one fraternal twins in my life. So cuates. Okay, I have cuates. My wife and I, we have cuates. But in my life, I've only known one pair of cuates in Europe. It's really not that common. It's an impression. I'm not talking numbers, but what I see here in Mexico is I'm very surprised by the amount of triplets and the amount of cuates and twins that you have in Saltillo and in Mexico in general. There, in my impression, there is really a lot, because I have almost every year I have students that are cuates or triplets. Even in the last 2 years, I had two or three triplets. Really amazing. And it's because here they give very easily in the hospital, like Daniela says, to women, ovary treatment hormones, and then you have more ovulations, and then it's more more chance to get more babies at the time. Um, okay. Um, let's watch the introduction video about this. It's about 5 minutes. It's going to explain us a little bit what hormones do, how they work, and then we will a little bit see what organs we have and how this all goes. Okay, but please keep in mind what I've been just telling about all of this, because it's something that maybe is of your interest, and we need a lot of people that will start to work in this area, because we are ignoring the problem a little bit, but it's bigger than you actually think. You know, we are really messing up things, and we don't have the solution. You know, we think that with science we can fix it, and we possibly can, but probably not fast enough. Okay, let's have a look at this.
Over the course of our lifetimes, our bodies undergo a series of extraordinary metamorphoses. We grow, experience puberty, and many of us reproduce. Behind the scenes, the endocrine system works constantly to orchestrate these changes. Alongside growth and sexual maturity, this system regulates everything from your sleep to the rhythm of your beating heart, exerting its influence over each and every one of your cells. The endocrine system relies on interactions between three features to do its job: glands, hormones, and trillions of cell receptors. Firstly, there are several hormone-producing glands, 3 in your brain and 7 in the rest of your body. Each is surrounded by a network of blood vessels, from which they extract ingredients to manufacture dozens of hormones. Those hormones are then pumped out in tiny amounts, usually into the bloodstream. From there, each hormone needs to locate a set of target cells in order to bring about a specific change. To find its targets, it's helped along by receptors, which are special proteins inside or on the cell's surface. Those receptors recognize specific hormones as they waft by and bind to them. When this happens, that hormone-receptor combination triggers a range of effects that either increase or decrease specific processes inside the cell to change the way that cell behaves. By exposing millions of cells at a time to hormones in carefully regulated quantities, the endocrine system drives large-scale changes across the body. Take, for instance, the thyroid and the two hormones it produces, triiodothyronine and thyroxine. These hormones travel to most of the body's cells, where they influence how quickly those cells use energy and how rapidly they work. In turn, That regulates everything from breathing rate to heartbeat, body temperature, and digestion. Hormones also have some of their most visible and familiar effects during puberty. In men, puberty begins when the testes start secreting testosterone. That triggers the gradual development of the sexual organs, makes facial hair sprout, and causes the voice to deepen and height to increase. In women, estrogen secreted from the ovaries signals the start of adulthood. It helps the body develop, makes the hips widen, and thickens the womb's lining, preparing the body for menstruation or pregnancy. An enduring misconception around the endocrine system is that there are exclusively male and female hormones. In fact, men and women have estrogen and testosterone, just in different amounts. Both hormones play a role in pregnancy as well, alongside more than 10 other hormones that ensure the growth of the fetus, enable birth, and help the mother feed her child. Such periods of hormonal change are also associated with fluctuations in mood. That's because hormones can influence the production of certain chemicals in the brain, like serotonin. When chemical levels shift, they may cause changes in mood as well. But that's not to say that hormones have unlimited power over us. They're frequently viewed as the main drivers of our behavior, making us slaves to their effects, especially during puberty. But research shows that our behavior is collectively shaped by a variety of influences, including the brain and its neurotransmitters, our hormones, and various social factors. The primary function of the endocrine system is to regulate our bodily processes, not control us. Sometimes disease, stress, and even diet can disrupt that regulatory function, however, altering the quantity of hormones that glands secrete or changing the way that cells respond. Diabetes is one of the most common hormonal disorders, occurring when the pancreas secretes too little insulin, a hormone that manages blood sugar levels, and hypo and hyperthyroidism occur when the thyroid gland makes too little or too much thyroid hormone. When there's too little thyroid hormone, that results in a slowed heart rate, fatigue, and depression. And when there's too much thyroid hormone, weight loss, sleeplessness, and irritability. But most of the time, the endocrine system manages to keep our bodies in a state of balance. And through its constant regulation, it drives the changes that ultimately help us become who we are. If you want to learn more about the ins and outs of the human body, start with this playlist, or subscribe to our channel to keep your finger on the pulse.
You're muted, mister.
Again, yeah, of course. So this video explains a little bit about how hormones work and how they interact. How we are going to do this system is we're gonna look at a presentation I made, and basically we're going over all the organs. And for you to study this system, basically what you have to keep in mind is you have to know all the places. That's why I put this background behind me. You have to know all the places that produce hormones. Okay, so it's the brain, then you have the male hormonal system and the female hormonal system. It's basically the same, only certain hormones are different between the both of them. So you have to know the organ that produces the hormone, you have to know what is the name of the hormone that is produced, and you have to know what is the effect of that hormone. Okay, and then in a fourth place, you have to know, not of every hormone, but the most important ones. What happens if you have too much or too little of them, because this creates endocrine disorders. Okay, so let's have a look at our first thing. What we're going to do today is have a look at the glands of the endocrine system. Okay, so have a look. So this is a very important slide. I will share it with you in the presentation. So this is basically all the glands and organs we have of the endocrine system. We have here hypothalamus, and which is called the pituitary gland, the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland. Okay, that's the system in our brain. So we have basically the pituitary gland is our main system in the brain. Okay, And there is one other thing which we call pineal gland, which produces melatonin. Okay, we're going to start with that today, and then we go to the other hormone glands, which is the thyroid gland. We have the parathyroid gland. We will have a look at the thymus gland, which is different. Don't confuse them, thyroid and thymus gland. We will have a look at the heart nut because it's not that hormonal. We will have a look at the kidney cortex, okay, the adrenal glands, to the pancreas, and of course the reproductive system. Okay. So the first organ that we're going to talk about, and it's in fact the most important one, it's our pituitary gland. Okay, and we can divide that pituitary gland in two parts. It has one part which we call the anterior pituitary gland, and there on the other side you see the posterior pituitary gland. And the anterior one is the one producing the most hormones, and the pituitary gland has only two ADH, you remember that one, antidiuretic hormone. We have seen that in the urinary system, and oxytocin, which has to do with milk production. We will see that in a second. So if I go back to this, the hypothalamus is basically controlling the pituitary gland. Okay, you can see that here. It's the regulatory hormones of the anterior pituitary gland. So this is important because the hypothalamus is in fact where the nervous system is connected. In fact, the central nervous system connects with our endocrine system, and that happens between hypothalamus and pituitary gland. And if you have a clear look where that happens, you see here that it's in this limbic system in the brainstem. And remember that in the nervous system, we have seen that this system here in the brain, this brainstem, it is responsible for what? What is so typical about the brainstem? Who can help me?
The communication with the body,
Sorry?
like the communication with the brain and the body,
Yeah,
like the
not only
pathway.
the thing is that this part of the brain is responsible for the very primitive functions. So the hormonal system is something that is directly linked to the most primitive part of the brain. Okay, think about what is controlling the most primitive part of the brain: body temperature, heartbeat, hunger, thirst, sexual drift, instinct, all of this. So I think it's just important to mention that this hormonal thing is directly linked to this primitive part of the brain, okay, which explains a lot of things, why that hormones make us feel as we do. Okay, if we think about I think the best example is possibly our sexual hormones. You know, our sexual hormones, they can really distract us in many ways, and some people, they don't have them under control, and it can lead to serious issues. For instance, it has been proven that certain rapists, you know, like serial rapists or sexually predators, I don't know, that they, in fact, this is not a brain situation. It might have to do with hormonal issues as well, you know, that they have, that there is a problem at that level, you know. Okay, so that's important, in fact, because it tells us as well that the hormonal system and the nervous system, they are connected in a very primitive part of the brain, which makes it only more difficult to understand how these hormones also influence our behavior and our drifts and our instincts and our moods and our how you feel about yourself, you know. That's also true for girls. In fact, it's I mean, I don't want to sound like this. Yeah, I hope this doesn't arrive wrong. I definitely don't want to give a sexist comment because that would be out of place, and it's not like that. But it is known that for girls, when with their reproductive hormones and the menstruational cycle, that this also affects somehow their mood, you know. Certain girls, when they are in pain and their body is changing, or the menstruational cycle is arriving, that this might cause a little bit sensitivity, a little bit feelings that normally they wouldn't have. Okay, don't take me wrong, it's definitely not a sexist comment, but it's part of our biology, you know. And I think you girls, you know that, and it should never be used against you. And it's not the case for all girls all the time, but it is known that for both men and women, that our hormones might influence our mood in different ways as well, and how we feel about ourselves, you know, sensitivity and those issues. So if we look at the hypothalamus, so hypothalamus is above that. And here you can see that hypothalamus, here you see neurons. These are neurons. And these neurons, they're going to control this gland. And this gland has two names, pituitary gland and hypophysis. Okay. This is the anterior lobe, anterior pituitary gland. And then here in the back, you have the posterior pituitary gland. And what you have to know is this is in fact the most important endocrine gland that we have, because it's producing a lot of different kinds of hormones. You can find it here. Like I said, it's in the brain stem next to the hypothalamus. You have here in red the hypophysis, or the pituitary gland, and it connects directly our endocrine system to the central nervous system. Okay. It's the link between the endocrine and the nervous system. I wrote it here. Don't forget that. It's very important. Okay. How that works, you don't have to know that, but here you can see the same thing, that there is different neurons controlling each part of this gland. Okay. So keep in mind, you have the posterior part and the anterior part. Okay. And they do different things. Like I said, here you can also see that this is directly linked to this very primitive part of the brain. Okay. It regulates like the primitive functions, body temperature, hunger, moods, release of hormones from other glands, sleep, thirst, heartbeat, water balance. I didn't write it, but also anger, sexual drift, instinct, all of these kinds of things, you know. Okay, so we call also sometimes the anterior pituitary gland the adenohypophysis. Okay, and the posterior one, we also call it now and then the neurohypophysis. They give it different names. Depends what kind of book you take. I just mention it here so that you have heard it before. Okay, so here, this is a very important slide, because here you have the hormones that are produced. Okay, so let's have a look at the first hormone. Maybe I have another one. Let me quickly have a look. No. Okay, so here you see the hormones that are produced by this hypophysis, okay, or pituitary gland, and the first one is ACTH, okay, and ACTH is also called the adrenocorticotrope hormone. Okay, you have to know that. If you know the letters, it's fine. What it does, the adrenocorticotrope hormone, it's the hormone that activates, in fact, the glands on the kidney. Okay, and the kidney, in its turn, will produce other kind of hormones. We will see that when we arrive to this hormone in particular. Okay. Then the second one that is produced by the anterior pituitary gland is GH, and it has an effect on bones and muscles. So what do you think is GH? Is easier? Anybody guesses?
Glucose hormone.
No, growth hormone. It's it's GH is growth hormone. It's the hormone that makes us grow, and it has its main effect on the bones and on the muscles, because it's the bones that have to grow and the muscles that also have to grow. Okay. So we have here adrenocorticotropin hormone, okay, which activates the hormones of the kidneys. In second place, we have GH, which is the growth hormone. And then we come to this hormone, which is called MSH. What would that be? Anybody has an idea? MSH. It has an effect on the skin.
Melanocytes or
Yeah,
melanin,
yes, yes, yes. Very
melatonin
good.
hormone.
Yeah, very good. It's the hormone that it's called melanocyte stimulating hormone. Melanocytes are cells in our skin that produce melanin, and as you know, melanin is the pigmentation that makes our skin darker. So MSH is melanocyte, it's stimulating melanocyte stimulating hormone, so it makes our skin darker, especially when we go in the sun. Okay, then we have another hormone which is called TSH. I think most of you know that. What would TSH be?
Steroids.
Yeah, of
I don't
course.
know what hormone.
Yeah,
Thyroid stimulating hormone.
yeah, indeed, thyroid stimulating hormone. It's the hormone that stimulates the thyroid, and the thyroid is like the gland that you would find here in your neck area, which we will also see tomorrow what it exactly does. Okay, and then we have some more hormones here. We have the hormones which we call the gonadotropin hormones, which is FSH and LH. We will see more in detail about these hormones in the reproductive system as well, but this is called a follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. Okay, and they have an effect in men on the testicles, so it helps in producing semen and growth and maintenance of the testes, and also it stimulates in girls. It's gonna activate, like it says, follicle stimulating. It's gonna activate ovulation. So basically the first step of the menstruational cycle. Okay, so that is the gonadotropin. And then we have one more here, prolactin. I think you can also, you see here a breast. So what is prolactin doing? It's even saying it.
The one that creates the
Milk.
Yeah, yeah, I heard it. Prolactin, it's like pro leche, so pro milk. So it's the hormone that produces milk in the female breast. Okay, this of course only can happen after pregnancy. You cannot have milk production. I mean, you could, if you inject the hormone in a person, you can have milk production without being pregnant or anything. But normally, this is a hormone that you would only see after pregnancy. Okay, when the baby is out, then you get a signal to the brain. Okay, the baby is out. Please start production of prolactin so that the baby can have milk. Okay. In beginning is first calostro and then milk, and then the posterior pituitary gland has only two hormones, oxytocin. Oxytocin is also with a little arrow to the breast. So what would oxytocin do if prolactin is milk producing? What is oxytocin doing? Anybody knows? No? Yeah, I don't expect you to know. Anyway, the oxytocin is basically a hormone that activates the smooth muscles in the breast, because you can produce the milk, but it's the smooth muscles in the breast around the milk glands that have to squeeze the milk out. So basically, the oxytocin is a stimulating hormone that makes the smooth muscle around the glands, the milk glands in the breast, contract. Can be even painful. My wife was telling me that sometimes it's really painful, that she feels like in her breasts when we had our children, that it's stiff, you know. And sometimes I was very surprised. If you ever get a baby, is not that simple, you know, because you have like the reflex in the breast that the baby sucks and then the milk comes out, but at certain points you have oxytocin production and then it just starts leaking the breast, you know, the milk is just coming out like that, and that's because of oxytocin, because it's stimulating the smooth muscles and it squeezes the milk out of the milk glands. Okay, and then our last hormone is ADH, which is antidiuretic hormone. You know that antidiuretic hormone is the hormone that activates, it has a direct effect on the kidneys. in the collecting duct, in fact, where antidiuretic, it's going to retain water. So antidiuretic, it's going to maintain water in the body. So it has an important function in the homeostasis and the water balance of the body. Okay. And because we're talking about the brain, there is a other hormone which is not produced, only one more, another hormone that is produced in the brain in a complete different place. This hormone is called melatonin. And we have a gland in our brain. And in fact, sometimes we wonder how blind people can know what day and night is. And that's because of the pineal gland. What the pineal gland doing, it's like the internal clock in your brain. It helps your brain tell what is the 24-hour rhythm. It can tell you if it's day or night. It has some sensors, and you don't need your eyes for that. Okay, melatonin is very important because it's a hormone that helps you sleep well. Okay, that's why this hormone also exists in this form. All right. Can you see it? No, you cannot. A ver. Now can you see it? Melatonina. This is from Farmacia de Oro. It's a medicine that you can buy if you have sleeping problems, which is more and more common. You can buy melatonin. It's the same hormone that is produced by the pineal gland, and it induces sleep. So it's not a good idea to take this medicine, to this hormone. In fact, it's never good to take hormones for a long time. But this is when people have sleeping problems. And more people have sleeping problems nowadays because the amount of melatonin in our brain is directly affected by the light. Okay, so what is the problem nowadays? Well, the problem, everybody is sleeping worse because of this. Okay, these devices, our mobile phones, our computer screens, our tablets, they're producing a kind of light which is very typical in the same spectrum as daylight. Okay, so when you're with your face all the time in a mobile phone, your pineal gland gets a high dose radiation that it normally should not get. Okay, your 24 rhythm day-night clock is disturbed. So the worst idea, if you have sleeping problems and every night before you're sleeping you're watching television or you're watching TikToks, and all of a sudden you realize it's 4 hours since you started. What happened to me as well. I put TikTok. It's such a mess, really. I lost a lot of time because it's like funny, you start watching TikTok, tick, and then one more and one more and one more, and I said, no, let's stop this, because before you know it, it's every video is 10 seconds, but in the end 2 hours passed. I'm sure some of you know what I'm talking about. I try not to be addicted. I really try to think about, okay, this is just for fun. Let's stop it in time, because otherwise it's going to affect my sleep. Okay, so don't do that when you wake up, when you go to sleep, being all the time with the phone in your face, because it's going to affect your melatonin production. What your body needs, if you have sleeping problems, what you should do is go outside, do other things that has nothing to do with screens, because all the screens, they affect melatonin production, and the melatonin is a hormone secreted by the pineal gland, like it says here, and it really regulates. It tells your body if it's day or night. It helps the sleep cycle. Okay, it helps telling our organs, now it's time to be active, now it's time to rest. But if you're all the time with these mobile phones in your face, all this system gets messed up and confused, and you don't rest well, and it causes you to be tired in the day, and it causes you to be sleepless at night. So if you have this problem, this is not the solution, guy. Okay, it can help you. You take just more hormone and then you sleep well. To be honest, I've been trying it because I had a lot of meetings and I thought I'm going to try it. And then I did some, I only took 2, but I don't want to do it because I don't think it's healthy to mess you with your hormones. What I do think is healthy is to stop on time with watching screens and do other stuff, because you cannot take this. I'm experimental, right? So that's why I wanted to try it. It does help though. You sleep because you have more production of hormone, because you ingest it, and then sleep is induced But of course, you cannot fix your problems with pills. That's not a good idea. But it's nice.
Teacher,
Yeah,
so
sorry.
it's not okay to take it.
No, it's okay to take it if like, look, I bought it because one, I was curious. Two, I was stressed out a little bit because I had so many things to do, and I had so many meetings. I was very late on the computer and I could not sleep. And I said, okay, I'm gonna try it. I tried it 1 month ago, one pill, and then I tried one again not so long ago, and it does help. It induces sleep. You know when you sleep that sometimes you think I'm here, but my mind is not asleep. It's fixing that. But the problem is that I believe if you're going to take hormones to fix it, and even if you do investigation about it, it's not a good idea. Everybody tells you you cannot take it for a long period of time or many days in a row, because you will become sort of dependent on it. Your brain will start thinking, no, I need this melatonin in order to be asleep. And when you arrive to this point, and that makes me a little bit afraid, when you arrive at a point that you need it to sleep, then you have a big problem. And I want to avoid that. So I bought it just in case that I know that I'm really, really, really tired, and I know that I'm thinking about all of these things and I'm not going to sleep. Then I would allow myself maximum one every 2 weeks to take one, just to have one quiet night. That's how I make my own rules, because I'm very afraid of taking medicines, and I only would do it if I really, really am stressed out and very, very, very tired. But it's never good. I'm not recommending it. I'm just saying that I'm experimenting with this, and now, now we see it in our course. I never do something lightly, guys. I always do a really good investigation about this, and always see about everything you do has negative effects. Okay, and you have to see if these effects are something you can handle or you cannot handle. Okay, and yeah, you have to do it very responsibly. But anyway, yeah, it's just to teach you what melatonin does, okay. Okay, this is in fact everything I wanted to explain for today. What else you want me to explain? We have like some more minutes before the class is over. Is there any questions about this part? Because tomorrow we will go to the organs, the organs lower than the brain, what hormones they produce. And then on Friday, we will see like certain hormonal disorders, okay? So this is a system that we can finish in 1 week, okay? Any questions so far?
No, Mr.
Okay, perfect. So we see each other tomorrow.
Thank you, teacher.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you, teacher. Have a nice day.
Thank you.